Good morning. Can you hear me? Yep. Okay, good. I have a microphone here. My name is Abigail Batome, and I'm a member of the Worship and Music Committee. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. If you're a visitor to First Parish, welcome, and please reach out to any of the greeters if you have questions. The first part of our service is recorded. Following the benediction, the recording will end. Then we will go into our candles section, which is not recorded. The service will be posted on our Facebook page and on YouTube. Masking is once again optional, but we reserve the last 3 rows on the right side of the chapel for people who want to mask. We do ask that you wear a mask when singing. So welcome to our service today. Our service is led by our minister, Reverend Arthur Lavoie. The sermon is titled, Taming Our Wendigo Spirits. Our technical services are provided by Lydia Robertson, who's been doing just an amazing job. Each week we're at a higher level. Today's live music will be performed by Angel Vendetti, and that was lovely. Whoever you are, whomever you love, whatever you believe, wherever you are on your journey, let us walk together this hour.
Good morning. I'm the Reverend Arthur Lavoie, and I'd like to welcome all of you and offer a special welcome to those who are watching us virtually online, either through our Facebook page or one of the local public access TV stations that broadcast our service. If you would like more information about First Parish, I invite you to contact me through our website, www.firstparishplymouthuu.org. We would be delighted to be in touch with you, and you can find more information there about Unitarian Universalism and about the history of this congregation. I want to make a special welcome this morning to Angel Vendetti. And I first met Angel through her parents, who are longtime members of the Kingston Church, when I was the interim minister there for a couple of years. And Angel is a professional violinist and music educator for more than 2 decades now. And she spent her formative years training at the New England Conservatory of Music, Walnut Hill School for the Performing Arts, and she's a graduate of Oberlin College, where she majored in violin performance at the Oberlin Conservatory of Music. She's performed widely both in the area and abroad, and has been a wonderful asset to the local musical community. You have a studio right here in Plymouth, and so if anyone is interested in learning the violin, she's the person to talk to. And so we are really delighted to have you with us. We have no other musical accompaniment today with school vacation week and people being away, so we are delighted that you are able to be with us and share your wonderful gift and talent. Thank you. And again, thank you and welcome to everyone.
Our call to worship this morning, this we know, Chief Noah Seattle. This we know, the earth does not belong to us. We belong to the earth. This we know, all things are connected, like the blood that unites one family. All things are connected. Whatever befalls the earth befalls the sons and daughters of the earth. We did not weave the web of life. We are merely a strand in it. Whatever we do to the web, we do to ourselves.
Please rise in body or in spirit for this morning's first hymn, which we're going to do a cappella. It is number 1073 in the Teal Hymnal, if you want to follow along with that. But I believe the words will be on screen as well. Let me find my maps. And there are, I believe, 6 verses to this. The earth is our mother, we must take care of her. The earth is our mother, we must take care of her. Hey, yanda, oh, yanda, hey, yanda, hey, yanda, oh, yanda, hey, yanda. The earth that we walk upon, with every step we take, with sacred ground we walk upon, with every step we take. Hey, yanda, oh, yanda, hey, yanda. Hey, yanda, oh, yanda, hey, yanda. Earth is our mother, she will take care of us. The earth is our mother, she will take care of us. Hey, yanda, oh, yanda, hey, yanda. Hey, yanda, oh, yanda, hey, yanda. The sky is our father, we will take care of him. The sky is our father, we will take care of him. Hey, yanda, oh, yanda, hey, yanda. Hey, yanda, oh, yanda, hey, yanda. The sea is our sister, we will take care of her. The sea is our sister, we will take care of her. Hey, yanda, oh, yanda, hey, yanda. Hey, yanda, oh, yanda, hey, yanda. The forest is our brother, we will take care of him. The forest is our brother, we will take care of him. Hey, yanda, oh, yanda, hey, yanda. 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 Thank you. Can I ask you? I didn't like that. Let's get that lit. And so if you could take a candle and here, light the chalice for us. Thank you. And please join us in the words of our chalice lighting. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in freedom, to speak the truth in love, and to help one another. Please be seated. And I think I'm still on, right? I'm covering a lot of bases today. Sandy's not here, Deb's not here, everybody's on vacation. So I'm going to tell a story. I remember this from a storybook, but I don't remember the little girl's name, and I think it was, I'm going to just say Isabel. So we're going to call her Isabel. So one morning, Isabel wakes up, and sitting next to her bed, there's this little, looks like a dragon. And it's about the size of a little stuffed animal, and she doesn't know quite what to make of it. And it's just sitting there on the floor next to her bed. And so she goes downstairs for breakfast on her way to school, and she says to her parents and family, "Hey, what's with the dragon? There's a little dragon sitting in my room." And her parents say, "Oh, it's nothing, don't worry about it." She comes home from school that day, and the dragon has grown about 10 times its size and is kind of sprawled on the living room couch. And over dinner, she says to her family again, "Hey, what's with the dragon?" And they say, "It's nothing. Don't worry about it." So, and this continues for a couple more days, and the dragon just gets bigger and bigger. The dragon doesn't breathe fire. It seems pretty friendly, but it just gets to be this massive size. And on the third day, she comes home from school, and the head of the dragon is poked out one end of the house, and the tail is poked out the other end of the house. And it looks like the dragon is about to just pick up the house and walk away with the house, right? And so she says, "Hey, we have to do something about this dragon." And her parents say, "Oh, that dragon." And immediately when they say that, the dragon shrinks back down to toy size, which is a reminder to all of us, the dragon are the things that the secrets we keep and the things that we don't talk about that eat away at us and eat away at us and make it really difficult and create problems in our lives and in our families. And so we have to acknowledge our dragons, and we have to talk about them in order for everything and all of us to grow together and to have peaceful relationships. Okay? And Jesse is going to take Aaliyah. And Jordan is already over there, so we have coverage for the kids this morning while Deb's not here. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine.
Do a testimony. Right now? Okay, sure.
I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. So we are kind of coming to the end of our pledge drive for the year. And we, over several Sundays, especially in March, you have heard testimonials from members of the congregation. And I don't think in all the 5 years I've been here, you've heard mine. So, I was living in Northampton. So I grew up Roman Catholic, as many of you know, and was very involved, and my family was really connected to the church. But after I came out as gay, the Catholic Church became less and less welcoming of me and meaningful for me. As my theology began to shift and to change. And so finally, at one point, I had to say, I can't do this anymore. It's hurting me more than it's helping me. And I left the church, and it was such a painful separation that I vowed never to get involved with organized religion again. Look at me now, right? And then I moved to Northampton, and I was living and working up there. I had grown up in the Springfield area in Massachusetts. And there was this Unitarian Universalist church, a religion I'd never heard of, that was sitting in the middle of town. And it was set back from the main street. And the lawn in front of the church was where all the important political rallies in town took place. There was all kinds of activity there. I started attending a gay men's support group that met there a couple times a month. And there was all this stuff that my life became more and more drawn to that place. And then I was going through a really rough time one winter. The winter of 1992, both of my grandfathers died 2 weeks apart. And it was a really difficult time for me. And a friend of mine called me and said, I know you don't want to go to church, but I'm picking you up tomorrow morning, and I don't care if I have to drag you kicking and screaming, you're coming to church with me. And the rest, as they say, is history. That I found a spiritual home. I found a place where I could be myself and where all of me was welcome and accepted, where my questions about God and the sacred and the nature of life and everything, where all of that was welcome, where questions were more important or just as important as any answers that we have for ourselves and our lives. So I encourage any of you who are members and who have not yet pledged. Some of you received an email from Amy this week, who is chair of the Finance Committee. And so we would love for you to do that and get that in as soon as possible. We have pledge forms here somewhere. I didn't bring any out, but we have some here if people would like to fill them out today. And this is a pledge for the fiscal year that begins on July 1st and what you think you might be able to contribute to that for the year so that we can start preparing our budget. So thank you all very much.
Our reading today is from Braiding Sweetgrass. Many of you may know that lovely book by Dr. Robin Wall Kimmerer. And it's entitled Wendigo Footprints. In the winter brilliance, the only sounds are the rub of my jacket against itself, the soft plumph of my snowshoes, the rifle shot crack of trees bursting their hearts in the freezing temperatures, and the beating of my own heart, pumping hot blood to fingers still tingling in double mittens. In the break between squalls, the sky is painfully blue. The snowfields sparkle below like shattered glass. Everybody is hungry. When the wind picks up again, I can smell more snow coming. And within minutes, the squall line roars over the treetops, carrying flakes like a gray curtain blowing straight at me. I turn to get shelter before full dark, retracing my steps, which have already begun to fill. When I look more closely, I can see that inside each of my tracks is another print that is not my tread. I scan the growing darkness for a figure, but the snow is too heavy to see. The trees thrash beneath racing clouds. A howl rises behind me. Maybe it's just the wind. It is on nights like this that the Wendigo is afoot. You can hear its unearthly shrieks as it hunts through the blizzard. The Wendigo is the legendary monster of the Anishinaabe people, the villain of a tale told on freezing nights in the North Woods. You can feel it lurking behind you, a being in the shape of an outsized man, 10 feet tall, with frost-white hair hanging down from its shaking body. With arms like tree trunks, feet as big as snowshoes, it travels easily through the blizzards of the hungry time, stalking us. The hideous stench of its carrion breath poisons the clean scent of snow as it pants behind us. Most telling of all, its heart is made of ice. Wendigo stories were told around the fire to scare children into safe behavior, lest the Ojibwe boogeyman make a meal of them, or worse. This monster is no bear or howling wolf, no natural beast. Wendigos are not born, they are made. The Wendigo is a human being who has become a cannibal monster. Its bite will transform victims into cannibals, too.
This morning, we're dealing with two kinds of monsters in the stories we tell. The first, the one I talked about in the Time for All Ages, refers to the monsters we create when we have hidden secrets, fears, or concerns that we don't talk about and that we don't deal with. This monster carries the weight of something that is wrong or isn't working in our lives or in our families, in our relationships. And when we don't talk about this, it causes deep hurt and resentment. We pull away emotionally, and it threatens to destroy our relationships. I've heard a few stories recently, reports from some of the covenant groups, which are sharing stories and ideas about conflict and covenant. These stories raise issues in this church and other churches or organizations about secrets, issues, and concerns. The stories can be very painful, and sometimes people walk away and carry that pain with them. Other times, when issues are finally exposed, the very life of the institution can be threatened. When people in power refuse to believe or deal with issues that have been raised. These hurts push people away, force people into silence, and leave scars on people's lives and on the church system that can last for many lifetimes. That's why we do this work, to build a new covenant and a new foundation for our future together, for your future. The second monster is also one we carry seeds of within each of us. The Wendigo or Wendigo spirit is born out of trauma sometimes, but mostly out of loneliness, greed, distrust, and the lustful accumulation of wealth, substances, and other trappings that we are fooled into thinking will make us happy or make us feel better. This self-involved and self-centered spirit, which listens to nothing and to no one, and blocks out the real ideas and feelings of everyone else around us. Now, this morning I'm using two of Dr. Robin Wall Kimmerer's essays from her book, Braiding Sweetgrass, for this sermon. One is titled Wendigo Footprints, which is where our reading came from, and I also use material from an essay titled Defeating Wendigo. And Dr. Kimmerer, if you're not familiar with her book, Braiding Sweetgrass, was on the New York Times bestseller list for, well over a year. And it has several essays in it. And like braiding hair, when you braid sweetgrass, you take 3 different strands and weave them together. And the strands that she weaves in this book are indigenous wisdom, the teachings of modern science, and the teachings of plants, because she is a celebrated botanist who works in one of the SUNY campuses in New York. In Dr. Kimmerer's culture, the time in late winter when the snow continues and the stores of food are running low are called the hunger moon. Starvation was a reality for her people. She writes that the Wendigo spirit embodies a hunger that will never be sated. The more the Wendigo eats, the more ravenous it becomes. Consumed by consumption, it lays waste to humankind. I'd also suggest that it lays waste to this fragile world in which we live as more and more resources are taken to fill the emptiness of our frozen hearts. The Wendigo mythology grew and spread in times of the fur trade, when overexploitation of game brought famine to the villages. But, she says, the Wendigo is more than just a mythic monster intended to frighten children. Born of our fears and failings, Wendigo is the name for that within us which cares more for its own survival than for anything else. I would also add that beyond its own survival, the Wendigo is self-absorbed to the point about not caring about anything but its own accumulation of wealth and praise and power. We know very many active and unchecked Wendigo spirits living among us and in our world today. And the damage that this monstrous overconsumption is bringing to our people and our planet. Our Judeo-Christian religious traditions have contributed greatly to the lack of care for the earth. In the first chapter of the book of Genesis, the first book of the Bible, God commands Adam and Eve, "Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air and over every living thing that moves upon the earth." We have been living up to this command for millennia, for far too long, without any sense of the reciprocal relationship that is needed for all living things to survive. Perhaps it would be helpful to remember that we all come from indigenous cultures that were originally more earth-based and taught a respect for and harmony with the environment around us. In addition to the message to subdue the earth and have dominion over every living thing, the message to listen to the earth and live in harmony with everything and everyone, well, that message is also written into our DNA. For the earth is certainly speaking to us today. In fact, you might say the earth is crying out, begging us to pay attention to the damage we have done and continue to do. Enormous storms, hurricanes, tornadoes, droughts, floods, the loss of habitat and extinction of species, the warming of waters, the pollution of the oceans. What are all these if not a cry for help? In the essay, Defeating Wendigo, Dr. Kimmerer writes, "Some folks argue that we need do nothing at all, that the unholy coupling of greed and growth and carbon will make the world hot enough to melt the Wendigo heart once and for all. Climate change will unequivocally defeat economies that are based on constant taking without giving in return. But before the Wendigo dies, it will take so much that we love along with it." She continues, "We can wait for climate change to turn the world and the Wendigo into a puddle of red-tinged meltwater, or we can strap on our snowshoes and track him down." She also offers us another option, though. She tells the story about Nanaboso, a champion warrior of her people. realizing that Wendigo is powerful in a time of winter and want, and its power wanes in the summer. Nanaboso chose summer as the time to attack and defeat Wendigo. Niblin, in her native language, is the word for summer and is translated as the time of plenty. Ideas about scarcity and plenty are not only economic conditions, but are states of our spirit. I have known people with next to nothing who feel happy and blessed, and people who thrive on the accumulation of wealth and power who are always angry and miserable. Kimmerer writes that modern capitalist societies, however richly endowed, dedicate themselves to the proposition of scarcity. We are taught continually that we need, the great new device or vehicle or appliance or medicine or fashion or whatever. The recommended color palette changes every year, and we must comply if we want to look cool and hip. All wealth and power, both economic and political, are tightly held by very few who want us to believe that there is not enough for everyone. Therefore, we live in a culture and economic system where fear of scarcity and the necessary accumulation of wealth and all of its trappings are part of the way we see our lives and the world around us. But what if we envisioned our lives as abundantly full, more than empty? What if we did not accept the compulsion to keep up with the accumulation of all this stuff that we have? I don't know about you, but as I look around my living space, I promise myself that I am not taking all of this junk with me the next time that I move. Our universalist heritage teaches us that this world is a place of abundance, beginning with the abundance of the love that emanates from God, from the holy, and lives within each of us. This is the love that can melt our frozen Wendigo hearts. If we can envision a model of abundance rather than one of scarcity and build our world around that, if we can truly see that there is enough for everyone to have what they need, then we can begin to make the changes needed to transform this world. We might not get everything we want, nor should we, but we can be assured that all can have the basic necessities of life. This is not going to be easy. Any transformational change can be very scary and challenging, and stepping away from our capitalist mentality does not have a lot of support. But communities like this one can provide some of the insight and support that we need to melt our frozen Wendigo hearts. Dr. Kimmerer writes that gratitude plants the seed for abundance. I walk the beach. I call it my beach because there have been mornings when I am nearly the only person there. Its given name is Newcomb Hollow, the northernmost of Wellfleet's beaches. During the summer, I go early to avoid the heat, but mostly because it is empty and the sun has risen within the last couple of hours. The sun is right there, right in front of me, as I scramble down the dune cliff. This beach stretches out for miles in either direction, thanks to the foresight of Ted Kennedy and others who created the Cape Cod National Seashore, protecting most of the outer Cape from developers. Sometimes I see a seal or two. One morning last summer, a whole pod. They swim and feed fairly close to the shore. I'll never forget the first time I came face to face with a seal. She bopped her head out of the water, and we surprised each other and stared into each other's eyes for just a moment, as if to say, "What the hell are you doing here?" I have walked that beach in every season and in all kinds of weather. I have been amazed at how the wind and the waves shape the contours of that beach, how winter storms are eroding the dune cliff. If I look closely and pay attention, I know that the beach is a little different every time I go there. It fills me with wonder and with gratitude. My heart is full, and I can barely imagine my good fortune that this is available to me. My own Wendigo thaws a little more whenever I'm there. My time spent there over the years is worth more, has done more for my spirit than almost anything I own or anything I have done. I hope there is a place like this that you can return to over and over again that heals your spirits. Amen, and blessed be. So, for our closing hymn, so one of the things I learned in a music course I took in seminary is that you can take some of the hymns in the hymnal and use other tunes depending on their timing or whatever it's called. And there is a hymn called "We Celebrate the Web of Life" that I don't like the tune to, but it goes very well with the tune of Amazing Grace. So I'm going to invite everyone to stand and sing "We Celebrate the Web of Life" with me. You want to give me a little intro or something? Or? benediction is from Dr. Robin Wall Kimmerer. Each of us comes from people who were once indigenous. We can reclaim our membership in the cultures of gratitude that formed our old relationships with the living earth. Gratitude is a powerful antidote to indigo psychosis. A deep awareness of the gifts of the earth and of each other is good medicine. Amen. Please be seated. Thank you. The things that all of you do for this congregation are so important, and the ways that you form community and care for each other. And one of the things that you do is contribute financially to the ministry of this congregation, and your offerings this morning will now be gratefully received. Let's see if we can. From all that dwell below the skies, let songs of hope and faith arise. Let peace, goodwill on earth be sung through every land by every tongue. Please be seated. And We now come to a moment in our service where we share our candles of joy and sorrow, the milestones that have touched our lives and our hearts since the last time that we were together. So I'll light one final candle for the joys and sorrows that remain in our hearts this morning. Let us pray. What joy we have among us when we can at the same time be celebrating a 75th wedding anniversary and a 6-year-old's birthday. What joy we have among us as we come together and share our hearts and our lives and our commitment to grow together spiritually and to develop our own sense of spirituality, of value, and of worth. What joy we have to be together to confront some of the challenges that we face in our lives and in this world. That we have each other, that you have each other, more especially. May those joys always remind us of love that exists in our hearts and in this world, especially when times are challenging. Let us pause for a moment of our own prayer and reflection. Can 69. Ancient mother. Jen, do you know this? Can you lead this? Ancient mother, I hear you calling. Ancient mother, I hear your song. Ancient mother, I feel your laughter. Ancient mother, I taste your tears. Ancient mother, I hear you calling. Ancient mother, I hear your song. Ancient mother, I feel